Hello, welcome to Axonom's Powertrak Editable Grid demonstration. In this demonstration, I will talk about our application builder, the tool we utilize to create filterable, editable, hierarchical grids. I will then demonstrate how to add and edit grid rows along with adding features such as totaling to the grid. This will show the ease of modifying Powertrak editable grids and the flexibility of our editable grids. I will conclude this demonstration with a brief overview of other Powertrak solutions for high-tech manufacturers. Now for a quick overview of Axonom. Axonom is an independent software company delivering certified CRM and PRM solutions to customers in the high-tech and manufacturing industries. Our Powertrak solution helps businesses successfully service their customers and partners in an environment that requires multi-level relationship tracking, web self-service, partner or dealer loyalty management tools, streamlined quote-to-order processing, hassle-free payment options, and a worldwide presence. I will talk more about Powertrak at the end of this presentation. Before I start the demonstration, it is important for you to understand the tool that creates an editable grid, the Application Builder product. I will briefly talk about its benefits, common usages, and show a functional diagram outlining the operation of the Application Builder. Here are a handful of common benefits of the Application Builder product. It's a non-programmer's tool set, however it does not limit development. It supports single sign-on from other content management-based systems or other portal-type systems. It handles any data adapter plugins, so plugins can be designed or built to connect to any back-end systems. It's both web-based and device and browser agnostic, meaning it can operate on any type of device that supports Safari, Firefox, what have you, as long as that browser supports W3C compliance. The types of UIs provided through the Application Builder are forms, filterable, editable, hierarchical grids, dashboards, and wizards. It also contains a complex rules engine for scripting out what belongs in those wizards. Here are some common usages of the Application Builder. It can be typically utilized to mash up on-premise and cloud-based data systems. Those systems end up in a consolidated interface for a single interaction point rather than opening multiple applications. It can also be used as a user interface for a master data system. It can also be used to help streamline interactions with the end user. Editable Grid is a perfect example of a streamlined interface. Rather than opening up each individual record in a form, you can simply march down the list of records in an editable grid, much like a spreadsheet. Another interface that's typically configured is the partner and customer portal interface. Here's a functional diagram that illustrates how Application Builder actually operates. On the left-hand side is all the different interfaces that UIs can be built for using the Application Builder. The Application Builder allows you to build list screens, editable grids, find screens, console screens, and user input screens. These screens receive their data through the Data Adapter plugin. The Data Adapter plugin supports create, read, update, and delete methods. Data Adapter plugins exist for CRM as well as Salesforce, as well as backend Ole ODBC databases and the Powertrak Metabase. The Powertrak Metabase stores any configurations done with the Application Builder or the Visual Builder. The Visual Builder is actually used to build out rules-driven wizards in a flowchart style, drag-and-drop style interface. Receiving data through the Data Adapter plugin handler, we can receive data from web services, traditional APIs, Ole ODBC databases, etc. The generic mapper allows you to move data between those different data adapters. Now let's dive into the editable grid demonstration. Many CRM applications are very powerful and can be extended using their own tools. These same CRM applications are missing some important features. One such feature is an easy-to-use, intuitive, editable grid. An editable grid is a single-screen tool that allows users to add, edit, and delete single or multiple CRM entities in a grid format. Powertrak can be used to fill this gap with its filterable, editable, hierarchical grid, which is one of the many features provided with the Powertrak Application Builder. Before diving into how the editable grid was built, I first want to show an example of the editable grid within the interface. So I'm within Microsoft CRM 2011 right now. This is an editable grid of the opportunities that I have rights to see within this CRM system. So here we have an opportunity with all of the fields that I have rights to edit You can see I've got date controls, lookup controls, we can have drop-down controls, etc. So all the different various types of controls that you wish to have within an editable grid. Not only do I have that, I also have this grid set up as hierarchical. So not only can I see the opportunity, I can also see all the products applicable to that opportunity. One other feature that's available here within this particular editable grid is down here on the bottom. I can see all the total estimated revenue for all of the opportunities returned within this grid. I can also see the selected total of the opportunities that I currently have selected. So if I wanted to add one more to it, you'll notice on the fly as I select this next one, it changes. So we'll be covering all of these features today within this presentation. Our first step when we talk about building this editable grid is we need to make sure we've got all of the data sources needed to retrieve the data required for this particular editable grid. So the first thing we'll do is we'll navigate over to Settings within CRM, and then down to the Powertrak area in the Application Builder. Once we click on the Application Builder, we have all of the tools available to us that come with the Application Builder. So here we have data sources. Data sources is where we need to retrieve our data. I'm simply going to filter this list down to the opportunity entities that we need. We have one entity called an opportunity, and that goes through the CRM 2011 data adapter. The other piece that we have here is the opportunity list data adapter, or data source, which selects all the information we need from the opportunity and joins that to the customer address 1 and state province, as well as the customer telephone number. Now that we've got those, we can move on to the screen builder. In order to navigate to the screen builder, we simply click on the Application Builder menu again. That takes us back, and over here to the right is the screen builder. So we'll simply click on the screen builder. Within the screen builder, we can filter down which particular screen we're looking for. In this case, we're looking for the opportunity screen. So it'll be opportunity list is the particular screen we're looking for. We double click on that, and that opens the opportunity list features below. In the features below, the first area we'll cover is the general area. The general area has the screen identifier, so basically a unique identifier for that particular screen, which is opportunity list. What type of screen is it? It's a list screen. What style scheme are we going to use for that list screen? So we're going to use the 2011 list screens because it's embedded within CRM 2011. What type of record icon do we want to display for each record? And then what's the title of the list screen? In this case, it's opportunities. You could also have additional data such as what's the location of this, what's the description of this particular screen. You could have the record titles, you could have a different help URL, you could allow anonymous access via the portal, and you could also have the header field is not applicable on list screen, so that would not matter. The next area to review is the data sources. So basically we find the previous created data sources that we did in the previous sections. So opportunity list, it was one data source we created. It's a select statement that goes out and selects all the opportunities joined to the customer address, state, province, and telephone number. So we select that data source first. Then the delete data source. Well, that's the opportunity data source that goes through the CRM 2011 data adapter because deletes need to happen through the web service. So we'll find that one there. We also have show the alphabet filter along the bottom of the grid. And the column we want to filter on for that alphabet filter is the customer ID name. We want it to sort by customer ID name in an ascending direction. So basically we allow sorting. We can also show the page size dialog box. So if you wanted more records than what was initially presented, we could type in the page size there. The next area to cover is the list screen settings. So we'll simply navigate to the list screen settings. Here we have the new URL. So what happens when someone clicks a new button? Do we want to show a form? So this is the form that will actually be rendered. You could either have a URL here or another screen ID that was actually a user input screen. In this case, we're just opening a URL because it's a CRM screen that we're actually opening. The edit URL is the same thing if someone double clicked on a record within the grid. Where do we want it to go? So we want it to go to a standard object that we have within the Powertrak system to open up existing CRM objects. The last piece here, which is the preview URL, this allows you to specify what particular URL do you want to use to open when someone expands the grid in the hierarchical fashion. So in this case, we're opening the opportunity product edit list, which is another list screen that you can see up here at the top. So that's just another editable grid that's showing beneath the opportunity list. And then beneath this, we've got Allow Edit, which allows people to double click and actually open records, and Allow Preview, which allows them to expand and see the preview URL. And then we could hide the Select All checkbox, which we're not. And then the last piece here is the screen HTML. This allows you to embed HTML right within the list screen. So in this case, I've got some JavaScript, which we'll cover later, that embeds right on that list screen. One important point that I forgot to cover a little bit previously was up here in the retrieve source. This particular retrieve source going against a SQL statement will only operate in an on-premise mode. If this was in CRM Online, this of course would need to be the same thing as the delete source is, which goes through the CRM 2011 data adapter, because the only way to retrieve data from CRM Online is through the web service. So we can simply change this to the CRM 2011 data adapter and we would be good to go. However, we would not have access to the customer address, one state province, or customer telephone number. We would only be able to pull opportunity fields. So just an important point to point out there. The next area to cover is the save data sources. Because we're in editable grid fashion, we need to be able to save data back to CRM. We want to save that data through the CRM 2011 data adapter back to CRM. So we simply specify that right here. If we had multiple fields or multiple save locations that we were saving to, we could have another save data source that operated with different fields. And we'll touch on how the fields are configured a little bit later, but that's essentially why you can have more than one save data source here. Primary key. The primary key of the particular opportunity is the opportunity ID, so we need a primary key to specify so we know exactly which opportunity we're dealing with when we're dealing with saving, deleting, etc. Now that our base configuration is complete, we can simply hit the build to begin configuring what columns we're going to display. The first area to start is adding the columns. So over here on the right hand side, we would begin adding new columns. One example of adding a column is you simply choose what field you want to have out of the out of the data source. In this case, we want the opportunity ID. We don't really need a specific header or title for that particular field because it won't be displaying, because we have its data type text and visible is turned off. So we won't ever see that column because visible is turned off. A different example of that is the name of the opportunity. The name of the opportunity is the field we want next, and in CRM the label says topic, so we type in topic there. The data type is text, it's visible, it's 250 pixels. You could have a custom CSS class against it if you wanted to, or you can use one of our default CSS classes. The order is 20, that basically indicates where it appears within the list of columns. The remaining columns are added as needed, so we basically have added all of the columns through this mechanism. Now that we've configured all of our columns, our next area to begin working is on the controls that will display within these columns. So we can flip over here to Fields and begin configuring those columns. Opportunity ID is a special one because that's the primary key. Anytime we create a new record, we need to default this field. So we choose which field it is out of the data source. It's the opportunity ID. What do we want to have as text? It doesn't really matter. This could be blank, what have you. The data type is text. And then down here we've got it set as a required field and the save field. Control type is a text box, save data source is opportunity. And then it defaults anytime a new record is created. What is it defaulting to? A standard out-of-the-box store procedure that Powertrak has called PTSP default get new GUID. So that will put a new GUID into that field anytime a new record is created. If an existing record is created, the store procedure doesn't run because it's not defaulted because it already has a value. The next field type worth looking at is the customer ID. The customer ID is basically selected from the data source. So there it is, customer ID. The text here doesn't really matter, but we type it in anyway. It's the customer. The data type is text. It's a required field, it's a save field, and it's visible. Really why I wanted to touch on this one was it's a control type of lookup. The lookup control specifies what kind of find control is this that you're going to use to look up. In this case, it's a lookup control that allows you to go out and run a screen from the screen builder called Customer Find. It's a find screen configured with the screen builder that pulls back all the data set for all of the customers in the system. The fields returned are the ID, the name, and the record type. The reason we need the record type is anytime the customer is changed, we need to know to change the customer ID field on the CRM entity, because CRM through the SDK requires customer ID type anytime you try to save an opportunity with a customer. So we're simply filling that particular field in with JavaScript based on a change from the customer ID record type that comes back with the lookup control. So that's exactly what that JavaScript is doing, and I simply wanted to show this control because the JavaScript event is illustrated on this particular field. One final piece worth mentioning here about the fields and the controls: at any point during the configuration, I can flip over into edit mode to see exactly what it is I'm configuring, because right now we can't see the controls that we're configuring, so we want to make sure that they're looking appropriately and acting the way we want. So I'll simply check off edit mode and click refresh preview, and that refreshes the screen into edit mode. Edit mode does nothing more than turn on a query string parameter for the grid to tell it to turn edit equals true on. So now we can see all the controls and how they operate. The next area to cover is the toolbar buttons. So we'll simply click on the toolbar buttons here. Most of the toolbar buttons populate out of the box, such as Excel, New, and Delete. New, Inline, and Save are ones we've added for particular functionality. The new Inline simply calls a standard JavaScript API provided by our platform called Control Screen Grid Load New Record Data. The Save button simply runs a standard list screen operation called Save Click. So again, JavaScript runs that functionality, no problem. So the way that both of those two operate in action is I can come over here and click New Inline, and this allows me to add a new opportunity on the fly. So I'm just going to simply type in the name of my opportunity as Op1, choose my customer, and choose my price list. And now that data has been saved, or that data has been added, and I'll simply click Save. And that will save that record. I could go through, edit multiple of these at the same time, again, and click Save, and you'll notice that this turned red when it wasn't saved, and now it's green that it is saved. That concludes the configuration of the actual list screens. Now that we've completed the basic configuration of the editable grid, we can now talk about the extensibility of the Powertrak platform. The extensibility we'll be talking about is the ability to show the selected total and actual totals down here at the bottom of all the records that are available here within this list. The way that that's actually configured is we inject JavaScript right to the list screen itself. So that appears actually at the bottom of the list screen, injected into the HTML. An easier way to view this JavaScript that we have down here at the bottom is I've copied and pasted it into Visual Studio, just to give us a clearer look at what's going on here. So essentially, right here at the top, we have an event that we've selected called anytime a row is selected, we want to run the get totals. The first thing that we do is we attach that event. The next thing that we do is we create a totals table, which basically is a table in HTML that we inject into the bottom of the grid. Then we actually retrieve the totals. So first, when we're creating that totals table there, just injecting HTML to the bottom of the grid, then we actually get the totals. Getting the totals calls actually our API that runs this pipeline total get message with the opportunity IDs. In this case, it's sending none, so meaning return all opportunity IDs. In this case, it gets selected opportunity IDs. When those return, the first one returns to this total execute call handler and populates the HTML for the total value that we created previously with whatever values returned. The selected total execute call handler populates the selected total HTML value with the value returned for the selected totals. For this pipeline total get message to operate, it actually needs to be registered in the platform. The way that we handle registering that message in the platform is over here within the SQL statement. We're actually creating this message in our platform and telling it that it's going to execute the PT SPE get opportunity estimated revenue total stored procedure. That stored procedure actually operates any time that that message is called. What that stored procedure does is it receives the opportunity IDs as a particular parameter of the stored procedure and the login name of who's calling it. And then we tell it to sum up the revenue of the opportunities if none is passed in, so of all the opportunities. If opportunities are actually passed in, we simply build a table of those opportunities and associate that to the opportunities in the system and sum the estimated revenue up and return those values. So that's essentially all that's required to extend the platform. This concludes building an editable grid using the Powertrak platform and extending that technology to perform additional functions. Powertrak not only provides a platform for extending and building web-based applications, it also provides modules for various functionality. Thank you for your time. This concludes the Powertrak Editable Grids demonstration. If you have questions or need pricing information, please go to our website, www.axonom.com. Click on the chat button and an Axonom representative will assist you. You can also find us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google+, Microsoft Dynamics Marketplace, and the CRM software blog.